Life has a way of making us believe that we must hold everything together. We grip tightly to our plans, our fears, our control, like a child clenching a fistful of sand, convinced that if we just squeeze harder, we won't lose a single grain. But the truth is, the tighter we hold on, the faster everything slips through our fingers. There is a power greater than us, moving through every moment, every heartbreak, every victory. It whispers in the stillness and shouts in the storms, yet we resist it. We convince ourselves that surrender is weakness, that letting go means giving up. But what if surrender isn't about losing? What if it's about gaining something far greater than what we could ever create on our own? Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean, waves rolling in with a force beyond your control. You have two choices: fight against them, exhausting yourself in a battle you'll never win, or lean into the current and let it carry you. That current has always known the way. It has always known where you're meant to go. Surrender is not about abandoning your dreams. It's about realizing that you were never meant to carry the weight of the world alone. It's about trusting that even when the path is unclear, even when you can't see what's ahead, you are being led. It's about loosening your grip on the plans you thought you needed and making space for something even greater. Some of the most beautiful transformations happen in the space between our breaking and our becoming. When we finally stop fighting, when we release the need to control every outcome, we create room for miracles. The doors that once seemed locked begin to open. The burdens that once felt unbearable begin to lift. We realize that surrender is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of real peace, real freedom, real life. Letting go is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice, a constant returning to trust, even when it's hard. It is choosing again and again to believe that you are being held, that you are being guided, that you are never alone. So today, take a deep breath. Release the worry, release the fear, release the need to control every detail. Stand at the edge of the unknown, open your hands and trust. Because the moment you surrender, you will finally begin to rise. We live in a world that constantly tells us we need to be in control. We plan, we push, we strive, believing that if we can just hold everything together, nothing will fall apart. But what if control is an illusion? What if the very thing we cling to is the thing keeping us from the peace we so desperately seek? Think about it. How many times have you mapped out your life only to have things take an unexpected turn? How many sleepless nights have you spent wrestling with worry, trying to force things into place? We convince ourselves that if we let go, we will lose everything, but the truth is, the moment we surrender, we gain more than we ever imagined. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means shifting from fear to trust, from resistance to flow. It means understanding that we were never meant to carry the weight of every decision, every outcome, every burden alone. There is a force far greater than us, moving through every challenge, every delay, every closed door. It knows the way forward even when we can't see it. Imagine a bird trying to control the wind. It flaps its wings in frustration, trying to bend the current to its will. But the moment it surrenders, the wind carries it higher than it could ever fly on its own. That is what happens when we release control. We stop exhausting ourselves in a battle we were never meant to fight, and we allow ourselves to be lifted. The beauty of surrender is that it doesn't mean life will be perfect. It doesn't mean we won't face storms, but it does mean we don't have to face them alone. When we let go, we open the door for something greater to step in, for guidance, for grace, for peace that isn't tied to circumstances. The very thing we fear, losing control, is often the very thing that sets us free. So, what if today you took a deep breath and released the need to have it all figured out? What if you let go of the fear that's been weighing you down and trusted that even when the road ahead is unclear, you are being led? Surrender isn't weakness, it is the strongest, bravest, most liberating thing you will ever do. And when you finally let go, you realize that you were never falling, you were being carried all along. We are taught to believe that strength means holding on to plans, to control, to the idea that we must always have the answers. We admire those who fight through, struggle, who refuse to break, who push forward no matter the cost. But what if true strength isn't found in resistance? What if it's found in surrender? It takes courage to trust in something beyond ourselves, to let go of our need to control every outcome. There is nothing easy about releasing our grip on the things we desperately want to manage. It is terrifying to step into the unknown, to admit that we don't have all the answers, to allow life to unfold in a way we may not fully understand. But the strongest souls are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who have the humility to kneel, the wisdom to let go, and the faith to believe that even in surrender, they are not powerless. Think of a tree standing in the middle of a raging storm. The ones that refuse to bend, that resist the force of the wind, are the first to break. But the ones that surrender, that bow with the storm, are the ones that survive. They understand that strength is not in fighting what cannot be controlled, but in trusting the process, knowing that the storm will pass and they will rise again. Surrender does not mean weakness. It means stepping back and allowing the bigger plan to unfold. It means understanding that sometimes, no matter how hard we try, our way is not the only way. When we hold on too tightly, we limit what is possible. But when we surrender, we allow something far greater to take over, something that sees beyond our fears, our doubts, and our limited understanding. There is a deep kind of peace that comes when we stop fighting the battles we were never meant to fight alone. We realize that surrender is not about giving up. It's about making room for something greater. It's about standing in the middle of uncertainty and choosing to believe that we are still being guided, still being held, still being led to where we are meant to be. So if you have been holding on too tightly, if you have been afraid to let go because you think it makes you weak, remember this: it is in surrender that you will find your greatest strength. The moment you release the need to control everything is the moment you allow life to take you exactly where you are meant to go. Life often feels like an ocean, vast, unpredictable, and beyond our control. We stand on the shore, watching the waves rise and crash, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. And yet, we try to command the tide. We resist the current, fearing where it might take us, believing that if we just fight hard enough, we can make the ocean obey us. But no matter how strong we think we are, the sea does not bow to our will. The more we resist, the more exhausted we become. Surrender is not about drowning. It is about learning to float. It is about understanding that the waves are not here to destroy us, but to carry us. We were never meant to battle the tide alone. The more we struggle, the more we sink. But the moment we stop fighting and lean into the flow, something incredible happens. We rise. We are lifted by a force far greater than our fear, far stronger than our doubt. We think control keeps us safe, but in reality, it keeps us trapped. We cling to plans, to expectations, to outcomes we believe are best for us. But what if the current knows a better way? What if the path we are so desperate to follow is not the path meant for us? Life does not move in a straight line. It twists, it turns, it redirects, not to punish us, but to guide us. The bird does not fight the wind. It spreads its wings and lets the wind carry it higher. The river does not battle the rocks in its way. It flows around them, carving a new path. Nature does not resist the flow of life, and neither should we. Surrender is not about losing control. It is about trusting that we were never in control to begin with. It is about believing that even when we cannot see what's ahead, we are being led to exactly where we need to be. When we stop resisting and allow ourselves to be guided, life begins to unfold in ways we never imagined. Doors we never saw before begin to open. The weight we carried for so long begins to lift. And suddenly the ocean that once terrified us becomes the very thing that sets us free. So if you find yourself tired of the struggle, tired of fighting against the waves, maybe it's time to stop resisting. Maybe it's time to trust that you are not alone in this vast ocean. Let go, breathe, and know that the moment you surrender is the moment you begin to truly live. Life has a way of breaking us open, of leading us to moments where we feel lost, uncertain, and exhausted from trying to hold everything together. We spend so much time resisting, pushing, controlling, thinking that if we just try hard enough, we can force life to unfold the way we want. But what if transformation isn't found in the fight? What if the real magic happens when we finally surrender? There is a deep shift that takes place when we stop resisting what is and allow ourselves to trust what will be. We fear letting go because we think it means losing, but in reality, it means making space. Space for healing, space for clarity, space for something greater than what we had planned. Some of the most powerful transformations in life don't come from holding on tighter. They come from releasing what was never meant to stay. Think about a caterpillar in its cocoon. It does not fight the process, nor does it rush its transformation. It surrenders, trusting that the darkness is not the end but the beginning of something far more beautiful. It lets go of what it was to become what it was always meant to be. In the same way, when we surrender, we allow life to shape us, to refine us, to prepare us for something greater than we could have ever imagined. We often think surrender means giving up control, but the truth is, control was never really ours to begin with. The closed doors, the delays, the detours, they were never punishments. They were redirections, guiding us towards something better, something beyond what we could see in the moment. But we only recognize that truth when we stop resisting, when we stop clinging to what we think we need, and open our hearts to what is actually meant for us. There will be moments in life when everything feels uncertain, when the ground beneath us shakes, when nothing goes according to plan, and in those moments we have a choice. We can fight the process, exhausting ourselves in a battle we were never meant to win, or we can surrender, trusting that even in the unknown, we are being guided. The most beautiful transformations happen not when we try to control everything, but when we let go and trust that we are being carried towards something far greater than we could ever build on our own. The moment you stop fighting the process, you will begin to see the purpose. And when you finally surrender, you will realize that the breaking was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to set you free. There are moments in life when the path ahead is unclear, when no matter how much we plan, how much we analyze, how much we try to predict what will happen next, we find ourselves standing in uncertainty. It is in these moments that fear creeps in, whispering doubts, making us question if we are on the right path, if things will ever fall into place, if we will ever find what we are searching for. But what if the very uncertainty we fear is the space where faith is meant to grow? What if surrendering to the unknown is the key to finding peace? We crave certainty. We want to know the outcome before we take the step. We want to see the full picture before we trust the process. But life doesn't work that way. We are not given a map with every turn marked clearly. We are given a compass, a deep, quiet knowing inside us that tells us we are not lost, even when we cannot see the way. Surrender is not about waiting for all the answers before we move forward. It is about taking the step even when the road ahead is hidden. It is about believing that just because we cannot see the destination does not mean we are not being led toward it. Some of the greatest blessings in life come from doors we never planned to walk through, from paths we never expected to take. And the only way we reach them is by letting go of our need to control the journey. Think about walking through a foggy forest. You can only see a few steps ahead, but you keep moving, trusting that with each step, more of the path will reveal itself. That is what surrender looks like. It is not standing still in fear, waiting for the fog to lift all at once. It is moving forward, step by step, knowing that clarity comes in the journey, not before it begins. There will be times when life doesn't make sense, when things don't go as planned, when doors close and the road ahead feels uncertain. But in those moments, surrender is choosing to believe that you are not alone. It is trusting that every detour has a purpose, that every delay is protecting you from something you cannot yet see, that even in the waiting, even in the unknown, you are being guided towards something greater. You don't have to have all the answers to take the next step. You don't have to see the whole picture to trust the process. You just have to surrender to believe that even when the way is unclear, you are exactly where you need to be, and the path ahead will unfold in its perfect time. There is a weight that so many of us carry, a silent burden of trying to hold everything together, of believing that we alone must figure it all out, that we are responsible for making every piece of our lives fit perfectly. We convince ourselves that if we don't push hard enough, if we don't stay in control, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, we were never meant to carry it all. We were never meant to walk this journey alone. Think about the sky above us. It holds the stars, the sun, the moon, the endless galaxies, and yet it does not strain under their weight. The trees do not struggle to grow. The rivers do not force their way to the ocean. Everything in nature flows in perfect harmony because it is held by something greater. And so are we. But we forget this truth. We exhaust ourselves trying to carry burdens that were never ours to bear, trying to control outcomes that were never meant to be in our hands. Surrender does not mean abandoning our dreams, nor does it mean doing nothing. It means releasing the need to force things, to manipulate, to make things happen in our own timing. It means understanding that there is a greater wisdom guiding us, a force that sees beyond what we can see, that knows what we need even when we don't understand it ourselves. And when we surrender, when we put our lives in hands greater than our own, we find something we have been searching for all along: peace. Peace is not found in having all the answers. It is not found in controlling every detail of our lives. It is found in trust. It is found in the quiet knowing that we are being led, even when the road is unclear, even when things don't happen the way we planned. The weight we carry is not necessary. We were never asked to do it all alone. Imagine standing in a river, holding on tightly to a rock, afraid to let go, afraid of where the current might take you. You grip it, struggling, exhausted, believing that control is safety. But surrender is realizing that the river knows the way, that the moment you release your grip, the current will carry you exactly where you need to be. That is the freedom of letting go. You were never meant to walk this path alone. You were never meant to carry every burden, to bear every worry, to hold the weight of the world on your shoulders. The moment you surrender, the moment you place your life in hands far greater than your own, you will feel the weight begin to lift. And in that moment, you will understand that you were never alone. You were being carried all along. There comes a point in life when we realize that no matter how much we plan, how hard we try, or how deeply we hold on, we cannot control everything. We are not meant to. The things we once thought were in our power slip through our fingers like sand, reminding us that control is only an illusion. But in that realization, there is also an invitation to surrender, to let go of fear, to stop grasping so tightly, and to trust that our lives are being guided by hands far steadier than our own. Surrender is not weakness. It is the greatest act of faith, the bravest thing a soul can do. It is standing in the middle of uncertainty and choosing to believe that even in the unknown, there is a plan. It is understanding that delays are not denials, that closed doors are redirections, that the things we lose sometimes make space for the things we were meant to receive. Surrender is not about giving up. It is about making room for something greater. It is stepping back, not in defeat, but in trust, knowing that we are being carried even when we cannot yet see where we are going. There will be storms in life, moments when nothing makes sense, when we feel lost, when fear grips our hearts and makes us question everything. But the same force that calms the waves, that paints the skies with light after the darkest nights, is the same force guiding us. We do not need to have all the answers. We do not need to fight battles that were never ours to fight alone. The moment we surrender, we shift from struggling to flowing, from fearing to trusting, from carrying burdens to releasing them. And in that surrender, we find something we have been searching for all along: peace. So if you find yourself exhausted from trying to control things beyond your reach, if you are weary from the weight of expectations, if you are standing at a crossroads, uncertain of which way to go, take a breath, let go. Know that you were never meant to figure it all out on your own. You were never meant to carry it all. There is something far greater holding you, leading you, preparing you for something beyond what you can see right now. Trust it, surrender, and watch as your life unfolds in ways more beautiful than you ever imagined.